Hey Biggies, and welcome to the second episode in our Christmas homebrewing adventure, and also welcome to the Craft Beer Channel Christmas party.
Hey! We've had some mandatory Scotch eggs.
We have. Very substantial, very substantial. We're drinking the British version of what we brewed for our Christmas ale. So this is a nice dark amber, which is kind of similar to the Belgian Dubbel, but with lots of tweaks. And our Belgian Dubbel, loads of tweaks. So it was the first Belgian beer I'd ever made. The first time I'd ever added fruit to a beer.
Yes.
So a lot to learn there. And there have been some pretty interesting twists and turns in the brewing process. We've had to go to the internet to ask for advice.
Always dangerous.
Yeah, and I've tasted the beer now. And it's an interesting result.
Ooh, Johnny, get me back to your house. We need to try some beer.
This Christmas party went exactly to plan. Last week, we decided to put 5 years of intense research to good use by trying to brew the ultimate Christmas beer. Looking back at 5 previous Christmas beer videos we filmed, we'd worked out that the ultimate festive brew had to include some kind of seasonal fruit, lots of roasted malt, and of course, Belgian yeast. Bearing all that in mind, we decided to brew a mince pie inspired Belgian Dubbel.
Mince pies!
If you haven't seen that first video, hit the link, but if you have, let's see how that idea panned out. Okay, so I'm a pretty experienced homebrewer by this point. But I still suffer from something that I'm sure lots of other homebrewers do, which is fermentation anxiety. It took about 24 hours to form any kind of krausen on the top. That's always nerve-wracking, but that was fine. And now we've got what we call in the YouTube beer reviewing business a 3-finger off-colour head. So it's a big old krausen as expected, and it's looking really healthy and it's bubbling away happily. But while that's been happening, I went from praying the krausen would start to praying it wouldn't, because I was undecided about what to do with this. So these are the raisins and the currants that I'm soaking in Demerara rum, and they've been soaking for the 4 days that this beer has been fermenting. Now, when I added the rum to these, I think I got a little bit chefy, and I used the cliche by saying enough rum to cover. Enough rum to cover 250 grams of raisin and currants is half a bottle of rum. So there's about 300 millilitres that went in, and my original plan was to chuck all of that into the beer. But I was starting to think over the last couple of days that maybe that's too much. That amount of alcohol might well stall the fermentation because the alcohol's too high for the yeast to be happy, or it might just throw the entire beer flavour-wise out of balance. So somewhat ambitiously, I decided to ask the internet what they thought. So I went to Twitter, I went to the YouTube community page, and I also went to our Discord community, which is for our Patreon subscribers. You can join that if you want, and asked all of them what they thought. Now the poll, if you ask the internet, should I be excessive or should I be restrained? Clearly it's going to say excessive. But what was most significant were the comments underneath. So while the majority of people were saying, throw it all in, the comments kind of persuaded me, particularly this one. So I have drained off most of the rum, not all of the rum, there's still plenty slopping around in there, but I've taken off about 200 ml of rum right here, which smells sticky and raisiny and rummy. What I've got left is what we think is about 100 ml of rum, 250 grams of currants that are going to go straight into this at peak krausen. Smells like Westmalle, oh my god. So much yeast character there. That is very, very exciting. So I'm going to get that back on really firmly, get that back in the fridge. So it's been fermenting at about 19. I'm going to now let it free rise, let it go to town on those raisins and finish that fermentation, get a little bit more ester profile, also deal with any diacetyl and stuff like that. And then I'm thinking I'm going to lager it for as long as I possibly dare, and then bring it back up to temperature and get it into bottle. Christmas is getting perilously close, or rather our Christmas video, which let's face it is Christmas Day on this channel. But luckily the beer has reached terminal gravity. It took about 8 days after peak krausen when I added in the raisins and the currants. So I came to bottle today and had a small issue. So a small issue has arisen in that my fermenter is collapsing in on itself. So basically what's happened, as I've cold crashed, the air or rather the carbon dioxide up here has been either sucked in or, of course, condensed up, because that's what happens when a gas gets colder. And it's contracted, and it's caused pretty severe distortion in the shape of my fermenter. Usually that doesn't happen so extremely because I usually do a bigger batch, so there's less air to be sucked in, less carbon dioxide to be sucked in. But this is quite extreme, and the problem is I want to bottle now, but if I bottle it, I need to take off that lid, and that's going to suck a load of oxygen in, which I don't want. So I've gone back to my New England IPA rousing technique, and I will be putting CO2 through the bottom of the beer to try and fill in that space and mean that I don't suck a load of oxygen in, or indeed break my fermenter. Thankfully that was relatively easy to resolve thanks to my experience with New England IPA. There's no oxidation, it hasn't sucked anything in. So I added my priming sugar. I used Belgian candy sugar just because it's a Belgian beer, and I thought, why would I use normal table sugar when I could use Belgian candy sugar? And yeah, it's time to start bottling. So my bottling one's on. My system for bottling is still incredibly simple. We will be doing videos as we improve that next year. The main thing I wanted to change up this time, because you should change up something every time you homebrew, is I wanted to try large format bottles. A, because they're really cool, particularly for Belgian beers, but also because there is a theory that large format bottles are better for aging. So generally these Trappist beers will have 3 to 6 months of bottle conditioning. So it's not just about the re-fermentation, it's about the actual conditioning of those flavours in the bottle. And quite often you'll see it with the Chimay Reserves, and Westmalle put them in big bottles as well. That's better if you want to age it even longer. So you want to try and get some aging character in there. And that's because the proportion of oxygen to the amount of beer is much smaller. So there's less oxidation happening. The oxidation process, which adds those flavors, will happen a bit slower. And you want that so that you can get those mild, soft sherry notes and caramel notes rather than the really oxidized kind of cardboard notes really, really quickly. So I've spent the last couple of weeks drinking my way through some large format beers. Not just any large format beers. I've had a barley wine. That was an unmemorable night. I've had another 5 Points beer. I love their bomber bottles. So I had a Grand Stout aged in whiskey. That was delicious. Loads of barrel character to that. I had from Round Corner Brewing, I had me a rum barrel aged black lager. That was delicious. A little bit too oaky for me, a little bit too dry. And then my new obsession with cider has yielded some lovely bottles as well. Okay, so just over 14 litres packaged, 24 bottles, some tall boys that I'll be hopefully sending off to Jimmy and some friends. I'm now going to leave this for about 2 weeks at room temperature, 20-22 degrees. You want to keep it below the maximum temperature at which you fermented, because if you let it get warmer than that, the yeast might kick off and start chewing some sugars that it didn't the first time. So keeping it below 22, 2 weeks time, and hopefully it will matured out. I'm really hoping there's still some Belgian aroma. It feels a little bit too roasty at the moment to me, but fingers crossed when it re-ferments in there, we're going to generate some more esters, some more fun, and it's going to be absolutely delicious for Christmas. So we're all set for our Christmas beer video, which comes out next week. But today, we are finally tasting our Belgian Dubbel. You must not know what to expect.
I tell you, I'm dizzy, I'm giddy about
like
this.
Like a kid before Christmas.
Exactly. Especially the fact that I can see there's a chocolate orange sat on the table.
That's for the Christmas beer video. That's for Christmas Day,
So we have to wait.
So we've got our review from Jimmy. I haven't watched it yet. We'll react to that in a second.
Okay.
But I've been tasting this all along the way, and I've got some concerns.
Okay.
But hopefully it's going to have come out real nice. So let's give it a go. We've got a 500ml bottle. We did some 330ml bottles, and we've got some larger format ones, which we'll be cracking next year to see how it's aged. Because these beers do spend a lot of time in bottle at the brewery. I think 6 months at Westmalle. Nice. So first test. Listen.
Hey. Nice bit of carbonation.
It's carbonation. Let's hope there's plenty of it though. Well, there's some. I wouldn't say plenty, but there's some.
There's certainly some in there, man. Good head, good tight head.
So yeah, lovely tight head, but holding that up to the light, that should really be a really dark copper at most. That is stouty. That's too dark.
It's pretty black.
Yeah, the carafa and the Belgian candy sugar, the dark Belgian candy sugar, is contributing too much colour to that. Let's see if it's too roasty on the nose. Ooh.
Ooh.
Loads of really ripe banana.
Yeah, it's like got that lovely esteriness.
Yeah.
Mmm.
And definite raisin as well.
Yeah.
Really sweet
Smell
smelling.
amazing. It's Christmas already, mate.
It's good. Should we give it a go?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cheers, man. Merry Christmas.
Cheers. Merry Crimbo. It's definitely pretty caramelly.
Mm-hmm.
It's fruity. It's boozy. I'm getting a booze burn.
Right. In a nice way, a warming way, or
In a nice way. I mean,
okay.
it's definitely suppable. I guess. I mean, I'm not getting a whole lot of raisin.
It's got two major flaws. It's probably twice as bitter as it should be, and there's loads of roast character, loads of like burnt toast, which just shouldn't be there. That's just not the style. Kind of Belgian stouty almost. Hercule is a Belgian stout. It reminds me a little bit of that, like soft hints of raisin and stuff. And I think the raisin and the caramel are there. They're just disguised by way too much bitterness and way too much roastiness.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a total write-off. I think done pretty good there, considering you've just made a different beer. To
Yeah,
what
I
you were
mean,
intending.
it's a tasty beer, but it's not to style. Anyway, let's see what Jimmy thinks of it, and then we'll come back and try it with a mince pie.
Hey, Jonny and Brad, cheers for sending the beer down. Looking forward to cracking into this in just a second. Hopefully the brew day went well and you guys are getting stuck into the festive period. Well, colour's good.
Is it?
Carbonation looks a little low from here. With Belgian style beers, you really want that carbonation really high to give that big fluffy head, and also to you know, make it a little bit more of that kind of refreshing character. That carbonic acid really helps make it really clean and crisp. Could have dropped the colour a little bit, but that's no bad thing. You often get some really nice dark doubles, but I mean that's looking almost stout-like. But otherwise, you know, looks nice sort of tan head. Straight away you get loads of lovely yeast character. So yeah, really good aroma on there. Classically Belgian, you know, you've got that real like old school double thing. Some more dried fruit, that sort of really nice foam banana, Belgian yeast ester. Maybe a little bit of spice in there. Smells good. You've got a little bit too much bitterness, I'd say. Definitely too roasty as well. Way high on the roast. So you need way less roast next time you brew it. But it's clean. It's refreshing. Well, I mean, as refreshing as a dark beer goes. I mean, that dried fruit thing definitely comes through on the finish, which is quite nice. It's kind of all there, just too roasty. Tell people it's a Belgian stout, and it's a win. Cheers, guys. Merry Christmas.
Cheers, Jimmy,
Cheers,
and
Jimmy.
to you. So, essentially, what we said, really,
Yeah.
I think, like, you weren't picking up the raisins because it was buried, and I was picking up the roast and the
I think it's the
bitterness.
The bitterness is sort of overpowering it a bit.
Yeah, it's something that you don't pick up on for the first couple of sips, and then actually you start to go, actually, that's a really bitter finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's remarkable, like the difference between. So that malt bill came from Jimmy,
Yeah.
and then I tweaked it to up the raisin and stuff. So it's amazing how 2.5% Carafa 2, which is what we put in, added that amount of roast, and only 50 grams of Challenger hops added that amount of bitterness. So it's a huge difference in like the actual isomerization of the hops and the actual, you know, the saturation of the roasted flavour.
Yes.
So we just got to bring it right down, and you know that's a challenge with scaling up and scaling down recipes. So lesson learned, and the recipe that we give you guys will be better. Right, should we try it with a mince pie?
I mean, it'd be rude not to.
It would be, wouldn't it?
We've had some comments on these being Eccles cakes, basically.
Yeah, I mean you're right,
but
it's got mince in it,
come
so
on, pretty great stuff.
fingers crossed.
Cheers. That's a great match.
Brings out the rum.
It does.
It's a boozy little number. I enjoy
think-
that.
Yeah, somehow in my brain it's connecting the burn with the sort of sweetness I'd associate with rum. Great.
So the original idea was to try and brew a beer that tasted or reminded us of mince pie. Haven't quite managed that, but maybe the final recipe will. But what we have done is brew a beer that goes beautifully with mince pies. And at the end of the day, That's probably more practical when it comes to Christmas.
Big time.
There we go. So guys, let us know if you give this recipe a go this year or next year. And we'll be cracking that large format bottle that I think Brad has put in his bag already. Oh no, it is there. It's still there.
Yoink.
At next year's Christmas beer show.